really needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. He's a legendary wrestler, promoter, trainer, entrepreneur, and an all-around good guy, Mr. Al Snow. How are you
Hi,
doing
Ryan.
today?
I'm doing great, Ryan. If I were doing any better, I'd be jealous of myself.
Well, I know, and I mentioned this to you before whenever we texted each other. You've done so many shoot interviews about your wrestling career that I really want to focus on what you're doing right now with Ohio Valley Wrestling as the owner
Uh-huh.
of Ohio Valley Wrestling and all the great things that seem to be coming up with you guys in the future.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to speak about that and anything else you wish to as well.
Well, obviously, OVW is known for basically training some of the biggest names in the history of the sport. You've got people like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton. I mean, the list goes on and on. What
Yeah.
led you to deciding to buy the company a couple of years ago?
It was, I guess it must have been fate, quite honestly. I mean, I had no real intention of opening up a wrestling school or training center or promotion at the time. What had happened was it was several years ago. I've been working quite frequently, not just here in the United States, but around the world on the independent circuit. And I was very disheartened by the majority, not all of them, but there were quite a few men and women, young men and women that were either poorly trained or lacked any training, both ring wise and also physically. And we're treating it professional wrestling not like it should be, which is as a profession, but as a kind of like it's beer league softball. And if it wasn't for the fact that I saw an alarmingly increasing rate of people being suffering some kind of life-altering injury, when they got in the ring, or actually there have been several deaths too that have been attributed to people being in the ring. It was really starting to weigh on me and dishearten me. And the fact that my beautiful wife is a licensed masseuse, and and in order for her to be a licensed in that profession, she had to attend a state accredited school. She had to be taught by a state accredited teacher. She had to complete a certain number of hours of training. She had to complete a number of hours of residency. And then, and only then, was she allowed to take a test and to become a licensed professional as a masseuse. I know the beauticians, every state in the union, beauticians, barbers, masseuse, oh, for God's sakes, morticians. I mean, you can't hurt anybody there because they're dead already. But in professional wrestling, used to, you were held personally accountable for every single person that you brought in, that you indoctrinated, you trained and you indoctrinated into the business. And if they were poorly or ill trained, it reflected on you and your reputation. And as a result, guys were very reticent to just allow anybody in, and that changed. That became different, and there was, the very much an open door policy. And as a result, there are a lot of people that they're just not, one, correctly trained in, especially where the basics and the fundamentals are concerned, the foundations, and then two, physically they're not in the proper shape to, one, aesthetically allow an audience to believe in the illusion that they are making their living in a competitive combat situation. But the biggest problem is not just the aesthetics, it's the cosmetics of it. It's the fact that they're so out of shape that when they get in the ring with their opponent, they're picking another human being up in 8 minutes in, and they're wanting to do the cool high spot that they saw on Raw last week, and they're potentially injuring people or themselves. So I approached several, and I would be the last person to do this, but I approached several boxing and wrestling commissions, had conversations with them about instituting standards, I went and met with the board of the Kentucky Boxing Wrestling Commission here in the state of Kentucky. That was where I met my future business partner, Chad Miller. He was the head of the Boxing Wrestling Commission at that time. And we had a conversation. I was great friends with Danny Davis. And at the time, Danny brought up that he was finally getting ready to retire. And one thing led to another. And Chad, my partner, removed himself from the Boxing Wrestling Commission. And we went together and we purchased OVW from Danny Davis. And that was in June of 2018, I believe. So we've had it a little over 2 years. And in that time, we've tried to take great strides to rebuild the brand and the company and take it places it's never been before. So.
Well, before we get into all the places that you're taking OVW, you mentioned the word accredited. And yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that the Al Snow Wrestling Academy is the first fully accredited, I guess, wrestling school, wrestling college, I guess, in the state of Kentucky, in the country,
in the world,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And so, tell me about how did you go about those steps, and how many, I guess, loopholes I'm sorry, how many hoops did you have to jump through to get that done?
Oh my God. It's not easy. I'll tell you that right now. It has taken us probably a year and a half or more in being in direct contact with the State Office of Proprietary Education. They oversee all secondary education, which is our trade schools and universities, colleges, and the massive amount of requirements and guidelines. It's a book that is probably, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this, Rob, that it's probably 12 inches thick. I think we had to make several copies that we took to Kinko's to get done, and it was, I think, over 600 pages that of the application and the form that all had to be filled out for our accreditation. And we're the only trade school that is accredited by the State Office of Proprietary Education for professional wrestling, sports entertainment, and broadcasting. So when it's a 2-year course, and in time, when we have to be accredited for at least a minimum of 2 years. Once we have that track record of 2 years of accreditation, then students will be able to use financial aid like they would with any other attending any other trade school or college. And if we have a high enough placement record, which I can't remember exactly what the percentage is, over it's several years, I think 4 or 5 years, we can be deemed an actual university for professional wrestling, sports entertainment, and broadcasting. So, yeah, a young man or a woman who attend the school, they both learn the in-ring skills, and then they also learn, we have coursework that is the history of professional wrestling, operation of cameras, lighting, sound, segment producing, TV production, directing, writing, creative writing, social media management, event management, business management, and so that we can give these young men and women skills because it's not a matter of if their careers inside the ring are going to come to an end, it's a matter of when. And it's always going to happen to anybody, whether it's through just time and attrition or injury. They're going to not be able to wrestle anymore inside a ring. And I'm hoping to give them skills that, one, while they're in the ring, will help them have a better understanding of how to capitalize on that opportunity when they're in that ring. And two, to give them skills that when they're done they can still be, have a viable career within the sports entertainment industry or entertainment industry and broadcasting, period.
I think
Um,
the most unique thing about the ASWA is that you actually award scholarships. So the kids that actually earn the right to go to school there live in dorms and they train, for free, basically.
yes.
Where did you come up with that concept? And I don't think I've ever seen that anywhere in pro wrestling. It seems to be so unique.
Well, it's an investment in both the school and it's an investment in OVW at the same time, because the product in OVW are the wrestlers. And we operate a combine no different than what like the NFL does. I know a lot of people, after we announced that we were going to hold a combine for the first time, started using that word. What we do is very similar to um, the NFL, in the fact that we don't just put them through the physical paces. We also have them take a psychology, an IQ test, a psychological exam, and then we involved this system. It's called a DARI system, that now, like a lot of other professional sports, are using as it's catching on. And what it is that they have cameras that they set up around the individual with that have GPS tracking, and then they have you go through very basic movements, and then it allows them to, through this program, to see the mechanics and the um, body mechanics of the athlete, and they can not only help to show you where your weaknesses are and adjust your training to fix those mechanically, but also they can predict a potential injury due to those weaknesses that could possibly happen in the coming weeks. So we involve that as well in the evaluation of these athletes. One, so that we can determine the people that have the best intellectual and physical capabilities, and two, so that we now have quantifiable metrics that we can work off of and say, hey, you need to improve in these areas to better your chances at taking advantage of an opportunity going forward. And we decided that we would offer scholarships to the school, 2-year scholarships, and then they'd stay in the dorm rooms for free, so that they could attend. And that way it's an investment so that we can train and build these athletes and then have them perform in OVW and help build the product for OVW going forward. So it's an investment both in the school and in OVW for the long haul. And unfortunately, I don't know if we're going to get to do a combine this year because of the whole pandemic situation. We're hoping to, and we'll place a few more people on scholarship in the school. Um, and then, going forward, I know that we'll be holding a combine each year. So,
As one of the best trainers in the world, maybe the best trainer in the world, what's the best advice you've ever given to a young wrestler?
well, I'm sure a lot of people would debate whether I was the best at anything, but I'm flattered that you say it. The best advice I can give anyone, and it doesn't apply just to wrestling, is that uh, you have to make you have to be passionate about what it is you want to do. No ifs, ands, or buts. And two, because without that passion, you can't do the things that are the most important. And that is, one, you've got to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do, to live a life that others aren't willing to live. That they want to live, but they're not willing to do those things to live it. And especially in professional wrestling, it's a very, very different lifestyle, and it's a very challenging, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, to be in it, and to be in it and be consistent, to be able to perform on a consistent level, because you gotta have to realize, and this applies to any entertainment, whether it's music or professional sports or acting. You know, those people that are at the top, they are there because they are willing to live a life and to do the things in order to live that life that others don't live, because other people won't do those things to live it. You know, and you've got to accept that that's part and parcel. And if you're not, don't fool yourself. You know, don't pursue something to be famous, to be celebrity, for money. Pursue it because it's a passion. It's something that you feel like it's absolutely essential that you do, and then all that other stuff will follow behind.
You and OVW just recently signed a deal with U2 America. Tell me how that process went, and how exciting is it that OVW is now seen nationwide?
Well, I got big news. We didn't just sign with U2 America. We originally signed with U2 America, and it is a national network. It is in 44 million homes across the country, which is great. I mean, just absolutely incredible. Um, we have as far as a television production, we just filmed 2 weeks ago. It'll air September 8th locally and September 11th on YTA. We filmed a 2-hour special commemorating our 1100th consecutive television episode, um, which is incredible. Only we're right on pace. We're a week ahead of SmackDown right now, and Raw is like a year or two ahead of us in regards to number of episodes. Um, but we've signed a deal with YTA. We're to be in 44 million homes with YTA, but as of this week and at the end of last week, we've also signed a deal with 11 Sports Network, which is in 55 million homes nationally. We have also signed a deal with RCN Network, which is in the Eastern Seaboard. And we have signed a deal with the Lily Network, which is New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Bahamas, Virgin Islands, and Guam. And we also signed a deal with Cox Sports Network in Louisiana, which covers 17 states in the Southwest or out west, from Louisiana out west. So we've just done all of those, and I apologize. We signed a deal a couple of months ago with Film Volt International, and we are on internationally. We're in 22 countries on Roku. We have our own Roku channel. We are in 220 countries on Amazon Prime and Amazon Fire with Film Volt. And as of today, we have come to an agreement where we will be included as a channel on every Hisense TV, smart TV they produce, and every JVC Hisense Roku TV and every JVC Fire TV edition will have our channel right at the startup.
And you guys also
And
have the OVW Wrestling Network online,
correct,
which I'm a happy
yes,
subscriber to.
that's great. We have that as well. And I just found out too, thanks to Film Volt, we are going to be on Sports International, which is an international sports channel, hence the reason it's Sports International. I mean, but it has an access of 690 million homes around the world.
You have so many things
So,
going on. It seems like you're a man juggling chainsaws. I swear. And so,
seems that
having
way.
said that, I guess we need to move on to the clothing line.
Well,
You're also the man
I got one
behind
more.
Collar and Elbow, which has become one of the most popular pro wrestling brands out there. How did that come about, and how are things going with that?
Well, hold on just a second. I'm not done on.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's
I
all right.
keep plugging
I,
away. Plug away.
well,
Plug away.
well, I just want to make people aware, like, because the ASWA is not just in the United States. I have affiliate academies in the Midlands and UK. I have one in London, in Surrey. and we have in Romania, Hungary, and Denmark, and two in the South America. And now we are expanding the United States, and we have one in Alabama, one in Utah. We will be having one in Colorado, and then one in Massachusetts. And the reason I bring all that up is because we're going to start doing the trade school virtually, as people can attend
Oh, that's
online,
awesome. That's awesome.
and attend the classes virtually as well. They all will, they can attend the affiliate schools for the wrestling training initially, and then attend the trade school classes, and then they can come here prior to graduating and for their residency to get that experience from each all over the world. So that's, we're working on that right now as we speak, to take the next step as far as the wrestling training in the trade school. So, and now on to collar and elbow. I apologize.
Sorry about that. I didn't know.
That's all right. No,
I was
this
trying to
is,
get to everything.
yeah. Well, we're working on it. Believe
But
me.
you're so busy these days. Like I told you the other day, I don't know how you even get any sleep.
Yeah, sometimes I don't. But collar and elbow. My partner Rod Hicks. He and I got together and we got to talking, and the conversation came around to like tap out when they were really popular, and they kind of represented, mixed martial arts, or UFC, I guess you could say. And we were I was commenting about the fact that football fans had Under Armour, and basketball fans had Nike, and everybody seemed to have something as far as fandom that represented, something they enjoyed, and we decided to create, collar and elbow, and not just, because as a grown man myself, I don't really care to have the face of another man on my chest walking around,
Right.
uh, you know, but and
Kind
we,
of weird.
kind of weird, but we wanted to create designs that were cool and were, fun, and like, if you're a wrestling fan and you see it, you get it, you understand it. Like, you see some of the designs and you understand what they are, just like the name collar and elbow. You understand because, whether it's jujitsu, or it's, you know or if it's Greco-Roman or freestyle, you start with some kind of collar and elbow tie up, inevitably, in all forms of wrestling. And the type, varies, but it's all in that same region. So you see collar and elbow, you understand, if you're a wrestling fan, what it is. If you're not a wrestling fan, it just looks like a cool design on a shirt. So that way, if you as a fan want to wear something that represents something that's a passion for you, you don't have to deal with, when you're in that group, there's always that one guy. It's like, oh, you like wrestling? That's fake. And it's like, well, congratulations, Murder She Wrote. How long did it take Angela Lansbury to put the clues together to figure that one out? Like, we all don't know that it's predetermined. I mean, we enjoy it for what it is. So we don't need you with your commentary about my shirt. Thank you. You can wear a shirt that represents what you enjoy, and you don't have to deal with knuckleheads deciding to inform you of something that's pretty much an obvious uh, to everybody since 1920.
Well, let me ask you, because you
Yeah,
guys have come up with some really cool logos and cool themes for T-shirts. What's your favorite collar and elbow T-shirt?
I think the
I
one
put you on
that
the spot right there, didn't I?
actually, I think the one that I really liked a lot was the old, the knockoff of the old Pro Wrestling Illustrated T-shirt.
Yeah, I like that one. I also like the Bad Street one.
Oh, I do too. I like that one too. But we've got a lot of different designs. I got to give credit to, my partner, and I'll send him stuff, you know, uh, that I'll have ideas. I'll see artwork that'll inspire something. We've seen some tattoo artwork and things like that, and I'll send it over to him, and then that'll help them to get an idea for a design that opens the doors and they just come up with something that, represents wrestling. I saw a really cool design of the old see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, with three skulls, all with their hands in the appropriate places. And I thought, boy, that'd be cool if we could come up with something like that, and put kayfabe is not dead underneath it. And if you're not a wrestling fan, a hardcore wrestling fan, you don't know what kayfabe is. It just looks cool because there's three skulls on it, and it just says kayfabe's not dead. You know.
At the end of the day, what do you think your legacy will be in wrestling?
I hope that it is the all the young men and women that I've trained, that will help to carry the art and the sport and the business of professional wrestling forward. I don't believe that, contrary to what everyone says these days, that the wrestling business has changed, you're old school. And it's like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think that the wrestling business has changed. I think it has evolved, it has grown, it has developed, and because it's always been and always will be a representation of modern society. Um, so as a result, it's going to be, you're going to have a more sophisticated audience now than what you had even 10 years ago. But ultimately, at its core, we're still selling the exact same two things that we were selling in 1920 and 1940 and 1960 and 1990. And that will never change. And that is who the professional wrestler is and why they're in the ring, why they do what they do, which is that they're trying to win and they're trying not to lose. And without that, who, because a lot of people today, Rob, firmly believe and are totally convinced that it's changed. And now the performer is selling what they do. And my point is that if you are selling what you do, um, it's never going to succeed to the level that it could. You're going to appeal to an audience, but it's going to be a very, marginalized audience of people who appreciate the what. But the average person is more interested in and will be more motivated to buy a ticket and to watch your television show if you successfully sell who the performer is, meaning now you as a fan, you identify with that person to some degree and really like them and want to see them succeed, or you know who they are and relate to them and go, I don't like this person, and hope that they fail. um, and ultimately that's what drives business. That's what all other sporting events have copied from professional wrestling, is that they ceased to sell just the what they do, and started selling the who and the why. That's why you watch a basketball, they're advertising a basketball game. Well, they advertise the two teams, but then they pick out a particular player on each team and make the story more about those two players facing each other, the challenge that they face, of winning the game. And to further explain, the reason that I firmly believe this, that the reason baseball, football, and basketball have enormous audiences is because everyone has played them. They can physically relate to what's happening. That's why hockey has a bigger audience for hockey in Canada than it does anywhere else, because more people play hockey in Canada. Soccer is bigger all over the rest of the world than it is in the United States, because let's face it, there are multiple generations that have played soccer, forever. And only now is soccer becoming more prominent as far as like the World Cup, viewing of the World Cup here in the United States, because, we've got more kids who have grown up playing soccer as a result. But professional wrestling, there's only about 7 things that we physically do in the ring that you can sit there and relate to and understand. Well, I've had that headlock. My brother put me in a headlock. I know what that feels like, but
Yeah.
you don't know what it feels like to hit the ropes. You don't know what it feels like to hit that ring. And most people, if you ask them, they'll tell you it's a trampoline or a mattress, which, God, no, it's not. It's horrible to hit, and they'll go, but you know how to land. Yeah, but it still hurts a lot. But you can't appreciate the pain because you've never done it. But you can appreciate who the guy is and how important it is for him to do that move so that he might increase his odds of winning the match and not losing because you identify with it.
You're considered one of the most clever guys in terms of ribbing the guys backstage. I know that you and Mick Foley have a long-standing joke. What is your greatest rib ever? I already know what you're going to say. I got a feeling I know it's going to be Val Venus. But
yeah, that one was. I can't top that one. That one was really good. That was awesome. Being able to put his phone number up on international TV, and like the phone calls. I did it twice. I was able to do it twice. That second time, man. That second time, I remember telling Bubba the cameraman, I'm like, every time I point at this phone number, just zoom in, and he's like, whose is that? And I remember Val like, hey, Al, what are you up to? Yelling down the hallway, and I'm like, oh, nothing, man, don't worry, and and then boy, it got out on the air, and
how pissed was he?
But he's such a great guy. I mean, he took it, and he laughed about it even then. I mean, they were he was traveling with Baldo, Matt Bloom, and Test at the time, and I remember he called me probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning that night, and he's like, Al, he goes, because he knew it was me, because they were calling asking about the dog and about Pepper, and so it got to the point that they started ribbing the people that were calling, and asking them to do different stunts, and they were going to win prizes, and had somebody playing a saxophone on the phone, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd say that one's probably right there at the top. I don't know if I can ever outdo that one. I don't think I won't. They probably won't give me access to allow me to get away with that anymore. Not like I used to.
Well, I took up 15 more minutes of your time than I planned it on.
That's my fault. I talk a lot.
So no, it's fine. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Oh, thank you very much, Ryan. And anytime in the future, I'm more than happy to chat it up. So,
yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.